So, how a plan to change gun control events and a plan to change the outcomes. What guns should provide? Guns should provide safety for people, meaning that people should feel safer when these weapons are around and held by the right parties to be protecting those involved. They should also feel like guns and firearms are a deterrent against violence and mischievous behavior occurring around them or in their vicinity. They are also used as hunting tools for those who like to hunt animals and eat them, such as deer, cows, and various birds. They can also be used as collector's items. Certain guns can carry heavy values as they are kept over years and years that they begin to appreciate and grow in value. But these are the things that are currently taking place with guns that are not going very well. From 1984 to 2017, there has been more than 20 mass shootings inside the U.S. More than half of those have contained a youth as a shooter or a youth being gunned down. So, over the last 20 some odd years, there has been multiple acts of violence where our youth are being slaughtered or our youth are doing the slaughtering. That is posing a grave issue to many of the people in today's society. In 2015 alone, over 265 people in the U.S. reported injuries due to firearms involving youth. So that's accidental shootings, accidental misfires, all these various topics occurring because we are allowing guns to be in the home and around in the vicinity of youth. In New York City in 2017 alone, 65 police officers were shot. So these are police officers protecting our city at every day and then being gunned down or shot by people who have negative ideas about what to perform. This is not a good thing, nor is it proper. Here are some of the rules that I am suggesting to decrease shootings. To own a firearm, you must undergo a psychological evaluation, which is filed and evidence of strengths or weaknesses attached in that file. That means a person could be interviewed and denied a firearm at one time and then re-interviewed and granted permission to have one. All of those being performed through those psychological evaluations. Those evaluations are then kept in a file and monitored as more people come up to apply for those weapons. As they're applying for the weapons, we should take a look at the amount of information that has been amassed in these files to state whether this person is sane enough to have a weapon or not. These are ways to prevent people who have mental disabilities from having a weapon. You will see that many of the shooters that have performed these senseless acts of violence are individuals with psychological and emotional disturbances that were not logged to the point where they were utilized to prevent these shootings from happening. If a firearm is owned and there is a child in the house, by year 5, the firearm must be kept at the local police station. This means if the firearm throughout the day is not being utilized for anything proactive, such as hunting or protecting a secured facility, then that firearm would be at the police station and not be able to be accessed by any of the parties that might want to access it to perform something that is not proper. These are various ways to ensure that we continue to protect not only ourselves, but our communities, our young people, and our elders. The third item that I propose is yearly mental evaluations for all parties that hold a gun inside of the home. And these mental evaluations are going to be done by our awesome police department. What this allows the police to do is become more involved and build a better relationship with those in the community, as well as stop incidents from occurring prior to them happening. For example, if most of the shootings that have happened, if a police officer had visited that home prior, the individual that performed the shooting might have been talked out of it, might have mentioned something that could have been worked upon and conversed about to avoid these acts of violence occurring. Finally, fees from $500 to $15,000 should be levied on people who want to have certain weapons inside their home. These could be larger weapons, smaller weapons, weapons that are used to protect the house, or weapons that are used as deterrents against others. The following are certain shooters and gives you a profile of these shooters. So when you look here at the shooter from the Pulse nightclub, his name was Omar. He killed 49 people in his shooting parade. He also would have been blocked from purchasing and having the weapon if my rule to have a purchaser and a co-signer undergo a psychological evaluation, as well as if you're a non-U.S. citizen, being forced to have that co-signer sign on the dotted line stating that this gun will not be used for any unlawful activity. If those instances occurred, then we would have prevented one of the shootings. Again, we look at the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, where Adam committed this shooting and killed 28 youth in combination with other adults in the building. These could have been prevented as well if the psychological reports were there, or the $15,000 levy for the weapon being in the home was pushed at that time. As we view the next shooter from the Aurora shooting in the movie theater, Mr. James Egan Holmes, we see that once again, presentation, we could have prevented these acts from happening if we had these individuals undergo psychological evaluations, as well as maintain files on their psychological evaluations. How are we taking action currently? Marches, demonstrations, petitions, media interviews, self-promotion, and lobbying. These are all vehicles that the youth are using today to fight against the gun violence that has taken place in various instances. The following are some quotes from young people about what they feel about gun violence. From guns make small men feel big, to violence isn't a Democratic or Republican problem, it's an American problem requiring an American solution. So that tells us that the youth are all about the solution to the violence and not which side of the political party comes up with it. Once again, these are a list of my policies against gun control, stating different policies that will stop the current activity from occurring prior if these policies are followed. Once again, as a whole society, we are against senseless gun violence and want to protect ourselves and stop these things from happening. That was my presentation. Thank you very much. And you guys have a fantastic evening. Bye-bye.